Good evening and welcome to this first episode of
Head to Head. This is a new show from us here, and we will be reviewing two beers that are similar. And this week we are reviewing Smithwicks and MacArdles Ale. Okay, so I'll just clue you into the scoring system here. What we'll be doing on this show is we'll be comparing the two beers out of a possible 5 points each on 3 categories. And those 3 categories will be
smell, taste and look.
We'll be comparing how the beers look, how they taste, and how they smell. So we'll go ahead and get started here. For reference, the Smithwicks is in these half-pint glasses,
and the MacArdles is in these glasses right here.
Yeah. So we will just give you some information on the beers here. The MacArdles is made in St. James's Gate. It used to be made in a different brewery, in the MacArdles brewery, but that has been bought out by Guinness and closed down. It is 4% and it says on the tin, premium quality traditional ale.
Smithwicks is also made in St. James's Gate. Smithwicks is 3.8% and it says on the tin, superior Irish ale.
Yes. So 2 Irish ales here for the first episode. So we'll be back in a moment to taste these. Okay, so we're back here on Head to Head. We're also thinking about calling this show Beer v Beer. So if whichever one of those titles you like, Head to Head or Beer v Beer, leave a comment in the comment section voting on that. Anyway, let's start off with the Smithwicks.
First on to the look.
Well, it's reddy orange. Now, the heads haven't been great here, but the pours weren't very good either, so
yeah,
can't really take points away for that.
I think I must mention as well is that Smithwicks is kind of advertised as a red ale.
Yeah, right. It is quite red. It's on the tin is superior Irish ales, so Irish ales are generally considered red ales, as both of these are quite red. But I think the Smithwicks is kind of red and orange and a little gold. So I think for the colour of Smithwicks, I think I'm going to give it a 3. It's a very pleasant look, but it doesn't look that carbonated and the head didn't form up very well. So I think I'm just going to give it a 3 out of 5 for looks.
I think I shall agree with you there, and I'll give it 3 out of 5 for the Smithwicks myself. And now onto the MacArdles.
So the MacArdles is slightly lighter and possibly a little more brown, but they do look very similar. There's a little less red in the MacArdles.
Yes.
It's a little, it's yellowy brown, whereas the Smithwicks is a kind of an orangey yellow colour. So they both look pretty good. I mean, the carbonation doesn't really look that good on either, and the head formation is pretty poor on each. But because the MacArdles has a slightly less good head, and I've generally seen that from MacArdles anyway, even when you pour it correctly in full pint glasses, it does have it's not as good a head. So MacArdles, unfortunately, will be getting a 2 from me, just because the Smithwicks looks a little better.
I think I shall give it a 2 as well for the look.
Okay, now let's move on to the smell. Smithwicks first. It doesn't smell that much of anything.
Yeah.
You get hints of maltiness.
Yeah. I think that's mainly because Smithwicks is a very popular ale in Ireland, or usually the main ale for Ireland.
Yeah, it smells like Irish ale. When people think of Irish ale, they think of Smithwicks. But it doesn't. It smells kind of weak, to be honest. It doesn't smell particularly strong or hoppy, or I mean, it smells a little malty and a little sweet, but that's really it. There's not much to speak of. So, for the smell of the Smithwicks, gonna have to be a 1 for me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a bit better than that. It's a nice smell, despite the fact that you sometimes see Smithwicks in a restaurant. I'm going to give it 2 out of 5 for the Smithwicks.
Okay, so let's move on to the taste of the Smithwicks. There's a little bit of bitter there.
It is quite malty though.
It is, it's very malty and sweet. There's a, not a licoricey taste, but there's some sort of sweetness to it. A nice sweetness. I think the taste of
raisins?
Raisins, maybe just going towards that, but it doesn't taste a lot like raisins, but it is in that direction, sort of.
Yeah, like kind of dried fruit taste.
Yeah, so give it another little taste. Yeah, just a little raisiny, a little peach, maybe.
I guess so.
No, there's no crazy flavour jumping out. It does just taste like red ale. It tastes like a sweet, low on the bitter. Well, it's
Very malty.
malty, sweet, low bitter, low hop, malty. Just standard, all around, pretty good. So 3 for me for the taste.
I believe I should give a 3 as well. The taste of the Smithwicks.
We forgot to do the smell on the MacArdles, so I'll have to go back to that. So the smell on the MacArdles. There's not much going on there either.
It does seem a bit richer than the Smithwicks.
Yeah, it does smell richer.
Like kind of Christmas cake richness.
Yeah. Fruit cake. It still has that malty smell, but it definitely has a better smell than the Smithwicks. They're still fairly mild smells because the presence of hops in these beers is pretty low. And hops is usually what gives you your smell, and since there's not a lot of hops, there's not a lot of smell, so there's not much we can do about it. But it's definitely, kind of Christmas cakey, raisiny. I mean, they say it's a traditional ale, and it smells like traditional ale. So for the smell of MacArdles, I'm going to give it a 4, because I quite like that smell. So I'll give it a 4 for the smell of the MacArdles.
I think I'll give it a 4 as well. It smells very good compared to the Smithwicks.
Anyway, let's do the taste of the MacArdles traditional ale. Well, first off, that's much better on the mouthfeel. It's fizzier.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is a lot fizzier than the Smithwicks.
We'll do another tasting. There is some sort of hop presence in this. It does seem to be like a hop from a bitter, like a, just a bitter beer, like the Spitfire that made by Shepherd's Neame. It has a little bit of that bitteriness to it. It seems to be a much more well-rounded taste than the Smithwicks.
I think when it comes to the ales, this is a much nicer taste than Smithwicks. I mean, Smithwicks is quite sweet and malty, but this seems a bit more kind of bitter and rich.
Yeah, it seems to have a little bit of bite to it when the Smithwicks doesn't. I mean, there's almost no difference in the percentages. I mean, 3.8 for the Smithwicks and 4 for the MacArdles, but there's something a little edgier to the MacArdles that the Smithwicks doesn't have. So I think for the taste of the MacArdles, I'm going to give it a 4. I really do enjoy this beer, but I think it also, it's kind of head and shoulders above the Smithwicks, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I think for the taste, I shall just give it a 3 out of 5.
Smithwicks gets a little better when it gets warmer, but it's still just sweet. Yeah, the MacArdles is fizzier. It's got a little bit of a hop presence. It still has the sweetness that the Smithwicks has. It's a slightly different kind of sweetness, but it is definitely, I think, the superior beer. Anyway, I'll add up the scores here.
So for this episode, I have rated the MacArdles 9 out of 15 and the Smithwicks 8 out of 15.
And I have rated the MacArdles 10 out of 15 and the Smithwicks 7 out of 15. So, while the scores are relatively close, it's a pretty short scoring scale.
So the beers are pretty evenly matched for me.
Yeah, and for me, there's a bit more of a difference to it. I think that owes to the kind of hop character and the carbonation that's in the MacArdles. Also the fact that there's a little bit of that hipster quality to it where you don't get it very often and it's kind of tricky to find.
Yeah.
So I think the clear winner this week is definitely the MacArdles. So you can come back next week and we'll have another episode of
Beer versus beer.